Okay, so some people were having trouble with the triangular prism ones. So I'm going to do just a quick video on specifically the triangular prism questions. So that's out of section 7.3. So 10, 16, and 17 were the numbers. So number 10 is basically a tent. Kind of looks like that in the picture. They tell you that this is 25, this is 12, this is 11, which means this is 11 and this is 11. And the height of the triangle is 9. And they want to know the surface area. So if I'm figuring out the surface area, first off, there's a triangle here, which would be half the base. The base would be 12 times the height, which would be 9. And so I would do 1/2 of 9 times 12. Now 9 times 12 is 108. 108 times 1/2 is 64. So this triangle is 64 meters cubed. Squared, sorry. Now, that's that one triangle, but there's another triangle that is the same side back here. You just can't see it. So I'm going to multiply that by 2. And 108 divided, somebody needs to slap me. 108 divided by 2 is 54, not 64. Sorry. That's 54. And 54 times 2 is going to give me 108 meters squared. So that's the triangle and the triangle. Now there are 3 rectangles. There are the 2 walls, right? Because there's the wall on this side and then there's the wall on the far side that we technically can't see. And then there is the rectangle that makes up the floor. So the walls are 25 by 11. So 25 times 11, but there's 2 of them. There's one on one side of the tent and another one on the other side of the tent. I think of it like a tent. So 25 times 11 is 275 times 2, because there are 2 of them, is 550 meters squared. Now there's one more rectangle. There is the floor, and it's a different length and width. The length is the same, 25, but the width of it is 12. Up here it was 11, but down here it's 12. So 25 by 12. And 25 times 12 should be 300, yeah, is 300. And there's only one of them, so I don't have to multiply it by anything. So I have the 2 triangles that make the front door and the back door if you want. I have the 2 side walls that are rectangles that are 550, and I have the floor that is 300. So when I add those all up, I get 958 square meters. So that would be number 10. Number 16. Number 16 says something that I don't know. Hold on. Calculate the surface area and the volume of each. So for number 16, again, it's basically a little tent. So something like that. And they tell you this is 10, this is 20, this is also 10, which means this is 10 and this is 10. And the height of that triangle is 8.5. So if I'm going to figure out the surface area, again, surface area, first I'm going to figure out the area of the front triangle, which would be base times height divided by 2. So the base is 10, the height is 8.5. and we're gonna divide it by 2. And that's gonna give me 42.5. So that's that front triangle, but there's another triangle at the other side, so we're gonna multiply it by 2 because there's 2 triangles. So when I do that, it gives me 85, I don't know what unit they gave you, meters squared. So that's the triangles. Now, it turns out that all 3 rectangles in this one are the same because all of the sides of the triangle are the same. So I have length is 10, width is 20, or length is 20, width is 10, doesn't matter. So we have 20 by 10, which is 200. But there are 3 rectangles that are all 20 by 10. There's the 2 walls and the floor. So I'm going to multiply it by 3, which would be 600. So when I add the rectangles with the triangles, I get 685 square meters. That is the surface area. Volume of anything is always area of the base times the height of the object. And one of the things I said in the previous video was that when you have a triangular prism, the base is really the triangle. Think of that as it's sitting on its end. The triangle is considered the base. So when we do area of the base, that would be base times the height of the triangle divided by 2. So that would be 10 times 8.5 divided by 2. That's the area of the base. That's the area of the triangle. Times how tall it is. Well, if this was the bottom, if you were standing that up, how tall it is would be 20. And so we have 10 meters by 8.5 meters by 20 meters. So if I do 10 times 8.5 divided by 2, so 85 divided by 2, and then I multiply it by 20, I get 850 cubic meters, because it's meters times meters times meters, so it is meters cubed. That's a 3, even though you can't tell. All right, number 17. It's the last one that I was asked to do. Number 17 is basically a right angle triangle. They tell you it's a right angle triangle, and they tell you that this is 50 and this is 120, and then they say there's like a height to it. There's like there's like a height to it, and that height is 20 centimeters. Okay, so first off, if I'm going to do the surface area, this triangle is the bottom and the top. So base times height divided by 2 is the area of a triangle. Well, because it's a right angle, there's the base, there's the height. Or if you want, there's the base, there's the height. I don't care how you think about it. It is 50 times 120 divided by 2. So 50 times 120 divided by 2 is 3,000 centimeters squared. That is one triangle, but remember there's 2 of them because the bottom is a triangle, the top is a triangle. So we're going to multiply it by 2. That would be 6,000. Now there are 3 rectangles. There is this rectangle here. There is another rectangle here. And there is another rectangle here. Now I can't draw, but I'm kind of unfolding the box, if you will. So there's a rectangle on each edge. So this rectangle here is 120 by 20 because the height is 20, the length is 120. This one is 50 by 20. The question is, for surface area, they didn't tell you what this length is, but this is a right angle triangle. If you know that this side is 50 and this side is 120, you can do Pythagorean theorem. 50 squared plus 120 squared will equal the hypotenuse squared. And so 50 squared plus 120 squared is 16,900. That's h squared. So h would be the square root of that, which is 130. So this is 130. So the rectangle is 130 by 20. So I'm going to work each of those out. So I'll do 120 times 20, 50 times 20, 130 times 20. I'll take each of those and I'll add them on to the area of the two triangles, which is 6,000, and that'll give me the total. So that would be the surface area. Now they also want the volume. Volume, again, is always area of the base times the height. The base is considered the triangle. So area of the base of the triangular prism is the triangle, which would be base times height divided by 2. So that would be 50 times 120 divided by 2. So that is the area of the base. Then we have to multiply it by the height of the prism. How tall is the prism? Well, the prism is 20 centimeters. So we're going to do times 20 centimeters. That would be your height. So really, I'm just going to do 50 times 120 divided by 2 times 20, and that's going to give me 60,000 centimeters cubed. All right? So that's your 3 triangular prisms that I was asked about. Hopefully that helps. All right. Stay tuned for another video.